Thanks for being on the call. What we're going to talk today about is the APASI plan, away from home plan. And I've known Andrew for a while. And Andrew, you've worked for APASI for how long?
I've been here as vice president for 6.5 years.
Okay. And you've seen a lot of changes with your offering and how you approach it over that time, I know.
Greatly. There's been a pre and post COVID has been an enormous difference of how we recommended offering it. COVID was an opportunity for us to do a lot of focus groups, find the best ways to bring it in front of families, a lot of do's and don'ts. But we actually, one of the things that really made us a better organization is we started working closer with our response center to get actual statistics on where the plan is actually utilized. With the focus groups of learning proper terminology, what to say, not say, how to offer it, combined with the proper statistics and utilization of the plan, it has made us a better organization in the sense of how we train our agents and bringing their closing ratios. Unfortunately, we averaged only about a 22% closing ratio prior when we just offered it post-COVID or pre-COVID. We have got agents somewhere now at almost a 56% closing ratio. We have a group that we've started at the beginning of this year at about a 72% closing ratio. So we became better at learning, and then we became better at teaching. So that's my goal, and our goal as an organization is to make our agents the best agents in the industry, offering a repatriation membership plan. So yes, you and I go back several years, and I think you'll see a difference in even this. And so whenever you want me to, start talking about the company, the statistics, the utilization, and then get into the, the meat of the benefits, I'll be more than happy to start that for everybody.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and get it.
Okay, I'm going to just say this now. I've been a trainer for a lot of years. I'm not a big fan of parking lots. So if there's any questions up front, feel free to stop me and just ask. That way, we're not getting lost or, the thoughts not in someone's head. So here's what I'd like to do. I'm going to first talk about the benefits of APASI, our response center, and then the actual membership. From there, I'm going to get into using proper terminology within the industry based on our focus group, what's a turn on and a turn off, and then the utilization of the plan, meaning domestic versus international, and about how far away the average plan is used. So get right into it. If everyone can time, you can see this clearly?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, well, I'm going to put on these things for me. All right. So the benefits of the, yes.
And Andrew, I'll be monitoring the chat, so if there's any stop questions, I'll try to jump in, but otherwise you're good to go.
Fantastic. I greatly appreciate it. So the lifetime coverage of our plan begins at 75 miles from a member's legal residence. I'm going to make this very simple. Legal residence is defined as where their driver's license is attached to or where they pay taxes from. Not their winter home, summer home, weekend home, or mobile home. So driver's license attached to or where they pay taxes from. 24/7, 365 membership assistance in over 100 languages at each of our 6 global response centers. That is one of our biggest differentiators right there. We do not just have one response center in the Midwest or in the Southeast at the tip of Florida. We cover the globe, which makes us extremely unique. But it also says since we started this plan and launched it in 1994, our lines have never been down. That's not to say they haven't been down at a location, but we have never not answered a phone. If for some reason there's a language that is not spoken at one of our response centers, APASI is responsible for all the translation services. It never falls on a family. A family will, once they purchase our plan, will never spend more than the amount they purchased that plan for. So the average price today of a repatriation membership plan in North America is $549. Our suggested retail is $525. If a family buys that plan for $525 today and it turns into a case 20 years from now, they never spent more than $525. So I'm going to give you a quick example of that. We just did our most expensive return last year outside of mainland China. Family bought the plan 15 years ago. It was $365. We did the return at $24,700. So an enormous savings to the family. We manage all custom documentations or diplomatic issues involved in anywhere around the world. There is only 2 places currently that we cannot do a repatriation from. That is North Korea and Cuba. Okay, neither one of those locations have a U.S. embassy or open there, so we cannot work with those locations. Plus, they are both on the banned travel list. That being said, everyone says, well, we don't have an embassy or in Iran. Well, we don't have to. As of February 1 of 2023, we negotiated a deal with the Swiss embassy to handle all of our repatriation. Once they are out of Iran, then we take over from there. But it has been an enormous benefit for us since there is a huge Middle Eastern population in multiple parts of the states. And a lot of the countries actually go through Iran for the international airport. So that has been very, very big for us in the Minnesota, Michigan, and California markets. To continue, we offer the option for an international return from the US and or Canada to the nearest international airport. I'm going to explain that in detail. Every company could ship cremains back. We're talking fully embalmed body. We are the only company that can ship international. So if someone has a membership, and we're just going to use Chicago, Illinois, and they are outside of their 75-mile radius, say they're just horrible fans and they like Green Bay football team. So they're up in Green Bay, they pass away, and they decide, well, we don't have cemetery property here. We do not have a pre-arrangement here. We purchased this plan just as a standalone. We decided we're going to ship mom back to Warsaw, Poland. We will do the pickup and removal in Green Bay, do all the preparation for shipping, take the body to the airport, ship that body fully embalmed all the way back to the nearest international airport within Warsaw, Poland. Our services stop at that airport, but at least we've handled everything at that point. The family is just responsible for, we will work with that local funeral home in Poland to coordinate everything, but they are then responsible for the pickup removal at the airport. On a domestic return, I'm just going to call it what it is. It's like plane, trains, and automobile. We do everything to get that body from the place of death, even if it's international, to the receiving location here in the United States and or Canada. I keep saying and or Canada because we consider Canada also domestic. Any questions so far with anybody via chat, or want to ask a question before I continue with the next part?
Andrew, if the intent of the family for final disposition is cremation,
okay,
say they are overseas, but they want to bring their loved one home,
okay,
and not have them cremated there, then that wouldn't be a problem.
I'm going to recommend right off the bat, because the family doesn't pay a cent more, the funeral home doesn't, the agency selling does not, bring back every single body embalmed or green on ice, depending on where. Do not cremate overseas. And I'm going to get down to why. First off, give a loved one the opportunity to say goodbye. Give the opportunity to the funeral home to perform the cremation. Lastly, let's make sure that their body is their body. There we have been many times coming from Central Africa or parts of Africa, potentially Mexico and other locations where we're just not sure when we talk to the funeral homes afterwards that they are truly receiving remains. So to protect the family, let us pay for it because we're just submitting the claim to the insurance company. Bring back a body, say goodbye, have a final, let the family do a final ID, whatever it is. But I just had a funeral home in Illinois call me the other day. Unfortunately, the family didn't have a membership. They were not members, they didn't have a pre-arrangement at the funeral home, but the funeral home owner was talking to somebody after a mass. The lady lost mom and dad in Mexico, unfortunately couldn't say goodbye because she just got back to basic boxes of cremains. One bag was greatly larger than the other bag. Funeral home made a comment to me. He's like, I don't even know if they were truly cremains or if they were ground up, cement. He was joking. He was saying what it is. My point is, everyone deserves the right to say goodbye. They're not paying for it. We pay for it. Just bring them back. So Tom, that's a wonderful question to ask. And I know we've said that before. So I would always recommend bringing back a body fully, either embalmed on ice or green. So thank you. Moving on, we provide a toll-free number to an experienced staff who will arrange for all details needed for the preparation and transportation to a funeral home of a loved one's choice or the international airport again. So we handle it all. Basically, it's one phone call to us. I'm going to give you an idea of how that phone call goes, and we take care of everything from there. We're going to answer the call. It'll be, repatriation company or APASI, whatever they want to say at that point. Someone's going to say, I lost my loved one, and we're going to ask a few basic questions. We're going to verify the name. We're going to verify the membership number. We're going to ask, where is the member currently located? Where are we bringing the member back to? How are we bringing the member back? And lastly, and this is a big one, folks, who are we dealing with? An agent should always explain that APASI will never, ever deal with a funeral home or a crematory or cemetery without family approval. It is extremely important. Every one of our phone calls are recorded. So if it's the family calling in, they just need to give us a verbal authorization that we could deal directly with the place that's going to be receiving the loved one. If it's the funeral home calling in on behalf of the family, we need the family to get on a call to give us authorization, or they could send us an email. But we will not just deal with anybody without the family's approval. There are times they're very private returns, and we want to respect that family immensely.
In a repatriation situation, Andrew, generally, how long does it take for a family to receive their loved one's remains back?
So I'll give you the average funeral home time, and then I'll give you our average time. So a domestic return that is outside the typical 300 miles, or it's out of state, let's just put it this way. A funeral home, if there's going to be flights involved, we don't know. So their average repatriation is between 5 to 8 days. APASI's average return is about 3 days. That we could get it done in the same day. It might be 5 days, depending on the weather situation. You never know where. It could be on a small island when true case, I'm just not saying names, hunting up in some parts of Canada. We had to get a plane up there to retrieve that body. So once you do that, then you gotta, get that body, carry it back to where the plane is. So it took us some time. So it could take, but our average is less than 3 days. International, I'm going to give you one from Florence, Italy, to Midwest. Took the family 23 days. With all the translation services, fees, finding funeral homes, communication, time differentiators. So that's a big one. You think about from the Midwest to Florence, Italy, depending on the time of year, it's either 8-hour or 9-hour difference in time. So funeral homes are not keeping people afterwards to deal with all of that. They try to do it during work hours. We're open 24/7, so we're dealing with it at all times. Our average international return is 6 days. So it can be greatly less, it can be a couple days more, but it's our average. So less than 3, 6. Great question, Tom. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so moving on for me. Survivors this is very, very big, but it's only big if the selling agent brings this up. Unfortunately, this is used less than 10% of the time, and it's a free service that benefits the family tremendously. Survivors of our members can receive 1 hour over the phone grief counseling. Another example, dad was traveling for business. Mom gets a phone call at 5 in the morning that dad has passed away on the East Coast. Mom is on the West Coast. Mom has 2 children in bed that she's got to wake up, get ready for school, but now tell them dad has passed away. Mom has never dealt with the death other than her father, so she has no idea how to deal with this. Made a comment to the lady on our call that, again, this is going to be very hard. She's never had to deal with this. She doesn't even know how to go about telling them. Luckily, the lady on the call offered her to grief counseling. So what they do is they will contact the counselor, have that counselor call the family, And then she was able to figure out how to tell them what's the best way. For us, that is a very big benefit that we're paying for. Average savings, depending on it's about a $500 savings to the family for that hour. If mom needed additional time, she could coordinate with that counselor, but she was able to do what she needed to get done in for that hour. So never an easy situation, but we're lessening the emotional burdens everywhere we can. Contracts can be sold on a one-time option, 3-month or 12-month term. If death occurs prior to a final payment of a term payment, we forgive all future payments. So if someone buys a plan and they put it on a 12-month term and they've only made 2 payments, they go off, on vacation, they die, we're forgiving the final 10 payments. And we are handling all services. There's no cap on our pricing or limitations to our service. I gave you all an example of our pricing limitation. We have none, but let me explain the service part of it. As long as a member dies outside of that 75 miles and they've honored the contract, and what that means is they did not purchase a membership while already on vacation, we handle everything. And what that means is we do not ask how the member died. It could be natural cause of death, accidental, non-accidental, meaning they were murdered, or it could be suicide. We cover everything. We don't ask health questions because we are not insurance. We are just backed by an insurance plan. It's why if we should ever go out of business, which hopefully I don't see that happening, our members will always be covered. That's what makes us also extremely unique. We collect emergency contact information at the time of signing. One of the things we learned about 4 years ago is sometimes it was taking us too long to get notified. And the funeral home was going ahead and starting a service because we weren't notified. They didn't know about the plan. We're not a reimbursement company. In order for us to get reimbursed from our insurance company, we have to be the company that starts the repatriation. So one of the things we started 3 years ago was collecting emergency contact information at the time of sale. That has dropped our reimbursement options by greater than 90%. There's always somebody that is aware, whether it be a son, a brother, a sister, a daughter, doesn't matter. Someone knows about this. We are getting notified. We are the longest running company to back each of our memberships with insurance. So when we launched this plan in '94, in about 5 years, we noticed something very, very difficult because we do not, we guarantee the family never pays anything further. Tom, can you hear me okay? It looks like my screen's frozen.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, now it seems so. Okay, we noticed that our returns were going to exceed what we were making per year. It's right about that 5-year mark, 6-year mark, where the compounding deaths from year 1 through year 5 catch up to us. So in 1999, we went out and got insurance, and we have never not been insured since. So again, it makes us very unique and should be very favorable to work with. We are the first. Okay, sorry. Our members have the freedom to travel up to 180 consecutive days while being fully covered. Let me explain what that means. From the day they leave their house and they go on vacation, they could be away for 6 months. At some point, they need to return home for their membership to start all over. So if someone goes off on a missionary for 2 years and they never return back to their home, they're only covered for the first 6 months. Now, if you get a snowbirder from Minnesota and they go down to Florida, because they're smart and they're going to spend 8 months down there. So let's just say they go down October 1 to avoid, the weather, snow, but they return home for Christmas for a day, or little Susie's birthday in January for just 1 day. Their membership starts all over. Their coverage begins from the day they returned home, or the day they leave again, from when they returned back home. So after 4 months, they go home for a day, their membership starts all over again. So as long as they're going back and forth within that 6 months, they're going to be continuously covered. But if they leave their legal residential area for greater than 6 months, they're only covered up to 6 months. Now, there's a caveat. During COVID, there was a travel ban. Families couldn't leave. They couldn't go anywhere. People were dying away from home. Yes, we covered deaths up to almost 8 months. You know, we're not a malice company. We're not in here to just take money and leave somebody. But if there's not a ban, we're still in some. We've just had this this year alone, where it's been 2 weeks past the 6 months. The only reason why we know is the insurance company states this. We'll eat it. We're going to work with someone if it's that close. But we have to draw a line and say at some point, we don't, the insurance company does for reimbursement from us. So that bottom line, it's closer to $21 million now because we did this at the end of last year. But we've saved families over $21 million in expenses since '94, and that's in our money. Well, Tom, you asked about time. Let me also say monetary. We save families about 40%. We're 40% less than what a funeral home will charge. With all of our connections, time, and everything else, translations, we don't need to get legal involved. And pretty much we're taking the funeral home out of it. We're handling all of it. So if a return costs us, let's just say $5,000. If a family was to do that exact same return, it's going to cost them about $7,000. That's a big savings because unlike a pre-arrangement where they're paying it over 5, 8, 10 years, a funeral home's going to want their money for a repatriation pretty much right away. Someone's got to pay that airline. Someone's got to pay for, everything. So one of the things that we've learned, everyone knows the term in the insurance world of passing the hat to get funds for a funeral home. Now, not though the average family in North America has $1,800 in their bank account. If you're doing a repatriation and the average cost is $47,500, not everyone has that money right now. And God forbid if it's for a husband or a wife or a couple or a family all at once. So, and then people say, well, that's what they have life insurance for. You're all life insurance agents on here as well as I am. Life insurance is intended for the living, and not everyone can get access to life insurance funds right away. So what do? They have to go to the funeral home and do a fast funding and then pay a percentage. They're going to lose a good percentage of it, up to 10%, if not greater, on the money that they have to pay. So if they have a $25,000 life insurance policy and they have to do a repatriation, let's just call it for $10,000 because they went to that funeral home, they're going to pay another 10% on that as an average. It's another $1,000. That $11,000 should have been left for the children or a loved one to take care of their everyday living. So
just the anxiety and stress of having to deal with all that on your own. I mean, that's
so
price to that.
The other thing that we have learned is it's really not about money. We always take it back to a family can't afford it, or the family can't afford it. Doesn't matter. No, it's time. How fast can you get my loved one back? So we got our first really bad review last winter. So my office is here in Scottsdale. Last year, we got hit with a lot of snow, and we had to do a return from up in Prescott, Wisconsin. Very desolate area. There was nothing around. Family was at their winter home up north, sloped driveway, and the husband dropped dead in the driveway while shoveling snow. We get our call. We did our absolute best to try to locate a funeral home that could get there in that weather. We did the whole full return or pickup within 3 hours of receiving the phone call. Livid. How could we have left them there for that long? So, and on top of it, because it was sloped, we had to find a funeral home that could send 2 attendants with that weather. We thought that was a pretty good pickup and removal within 3 hours at that time with 2 attendants. Family was not. We take that. We understand it's time. It's the stress. How fast can you get it done? So it's not money at that point. When someone dies, it's I want my loved one picked up and I want them cared for as fast as possible. So those are pretty much the benefits of the company, the response center, and the plan. Before I go on to statistics and proper terminology, is there any questions on the benefits?
Andrew, I have a question. Do you have statistics on the percentage of people that have a pre-need funeral plan or a funeral trust who have earmarked money or set aside money for funeral expenses that actually own a plan. So I pre-planned a funeral, for my wife and I, and we have, let's say, 25,000. But this 525 fee, one-time fee, lifetime benefit, you have an idea how many people who have taken that step that actually own this type of plan, whether it's your company or even a competitor possibly.
So yes, on average, and there's only one company that does it right, and they add it to about 82% of all of their pre-arrangements, and that's SCI Direct. So it's built into every one of their sales. They back it out for spend downs and imminent deaths. Everyone else is a candidate, people. So one of the things, and this is a big thing that we learned last year, is this is why the market and the opportunity is so big, even for past clients. Less than 30% of all pre-arrangements have a membership included with it. And that's including that 82% of SCI Direct. The reason why, this is what we're learning, people just don't bring it up. They assume the family doesn't need it, or they are basically selling a pre-arrangement with their money. They're afraid to ask for that extra $500. So why we became better at our training, a year ago, last January, is stop selling this as an add-on. Don't sell our plan, first off. If you're selling our plan, you're already behind the eight ball. You should be discussing it in an open conversation, asking some very just general questions about where, so I'll go into the proper terminology. Stop talking travel. During COVID, when we did all of these focus groups, our number one killer of selling our plan was the word travel, because people say, I just don't travel. In their mind, travel means having to have a passport, getting on a cruise ship, leaving, it doesn't matter. It's visit, vacation, and go. If you are in your warm-up and you're just getting all of your paper out, you should just be asking family, if the person you're about to sell a pre-arrangement to, or a final expense to, or a life plan to, it doesn't really matter. So where do you like to vacation? You ever go visit family elsewhere? Where's your favorite trip, favorite destination? So where do you go often? Visit, vacation, and go. The families can relate to those three words, and they'll tell you everything, because people love to talk about themselves and their families. The other thing is learn your area. You're selling in a market. So I'm in Scottsdale. And I can tell you this, I would never say to somebody, so Tom, let me ask you a question. Do you ever go 75 miles away from your home? It's a ridiculous question. So some people can't, put an idea. They may think they're driving 75 miles, like if you're going up and down Lombard Street in San Francisco 30 times. No. What you want to ask, so Tom, do you ever go up to Flagstaff? Do you ever go down to, do you ever go down to Tucson? Do you ever drive over to San Diego? Do you ever drive to Las Vegas? Know your market and know where people in your market go. And then you can get them relating and talking. So if you're from Chicago, ask them, you ever go up to Milwaukee for Summerfest? You ever go watch the Cubs go play the St. Louis Cardinals? You ever see the Bears go? I don't care. Know who you're talking to, know your market. It's relatable. They will tell you if they're a candidate. I've already said this once, I'm going to say it again. Every single person you talk to, whether they're doing a pre-arrangement or not, they are a candidate for this membership, as long as, one, they are not imminent in the next 60 days, and two, they are not bedridden in a nursing home or a facility, and they're never going anywhere. Everyone else, from the time of death, from the time of birth, to just beyond 60 days of death, they're a candidate. You could literally have someone that says, I have stage 3 cancer, and I go up to the Mayo Clinic for treatment twice a year, 4 times a year, or I'm going for this experimental treatment in Switzerland or Brazil, doesn't matter. They are a candidate, because God forbid the family, one, loses them due to cancer anyway, but two, they lose them now while they're receiving treatment. They don't want to deal with that. let us handle that return as long as wherever they're getting treatment is greater than 75 miles from their home.
Andrew, can you go over the coverage as far as the family you mentioned and who's in the household and relatives and just connections in that same address?
So the coverage is an individual coverage.
Okay.
So there's not a family plan yet. But it's individual coverage, 525, you're covered for life, plain and simple. So I'll give you an example. My boys, I bought a plan for myself, my mother, my ex, my boys the second they got Social Security numbers. Why is that important? Well, guess who I take the majority of my vacations with? My family. Knowing the statistics of what happened, so I'll get into statistics and then we'll get back into this. So one of the things that we learned in 2023 from our response center is greater than 72% of all of our cases are domestic. Here's the kicker on that part. Greater than 74% of that 72% claims are within 300 miles of a member's home. It's really a lot of car accidents, but it's mostly where people go, where they go the majority of the time. So you know your market, you know where you go a lot of times. Just put that to the average family in your market. So if you take that as a whole and you just use 10,000 plans a year, so 72% of the 10,000 are domestic, and greater than 74% of that 72%, so now you're at greater than 50% of all of our plans that turn into cases are within 300 miles of a member's home. So don't think people don't need this plan. Everybody, from the time they sit with you and talk about their prearrangement to the time of death, is going somewhere between 75 miles and 300 miles. Everybody.
So I want to ask a few other questions on behalf
Please.
of you. So for one, a lot of our clients might be residents of the United States, but they're visiting other countries of their origin. They might, for instance, I have two clients that go to Sri Lanka at least 3 or 4 times a year. They're back and forth and back and forth. They seem like a perfect candidate. Is there any restrictions against folks that are clearly Americans?
Nope. As long as, so I'll make this even easier for you. They don't have to be Americans or Canadians. You could have someone here they're from Mexico. They have a residence here. They have a bank here and they have an ITIN. As long as they have a taxpayer identification number, you could sell that membership to them. Now, if they leave the United States and they're done working here and they move back there, they have 6 months of coverage until, after they've gone back, and then their coverage basically goes dormant until they return. So if you got somebody from Sri Lanka and they're here working, I live what's called the price corridor. I have every big tech company, Boeing, everything where I live. Foreign people from all foreign countries. As long as they have a taxpayer ID number, they have a bank here and a resident, you could sell the membership to them.
That brings up another question. So if somebody passes away 75 miles away and their body is moved back because their family didn't realize they had this coverage, is there any way for them to report that, or is after the fact anything that can help the family?
That's why the membership agreement, paper or electronics, makes it very clear. We are not a reimbursement company. We need to be making the arrangements, but that is why I mentioned about the emergency contact information. If you're selling this as a pre-arrangement, so you could either tear off a form and put it with the pre-arrangement, or print when you're doing an electronic copy, print a copy and put it with the pre-arrangement folder. So when the funeral home gets a call that this person died, they see that they are a member of the APASI membership plan, they call us right away. We also give multiple permanent membership cards. So we give 2 at the time so once somebody signs up, they'll get a temporary membership card. And then within 5 business days, we will mail out their permanent membership cards. There's 2 of them. They could always request more. So at least mom and dad have a copy. If it's husband and wife, they could give one to each of their kids if the kids are grown to handle it. So everyone is aware of what they have. because I can tell you this from my background prior to being in this industry, I was in the pre-need world as a manager for 7 years. One of the things that I've learned from the funeral homes is mom and dads don't tell their children they have a pre-arrangement. They take the pre-arrangement, go home, put it in a safe, or they put it in a drawer, and the kids don't even realize it. And then kids will pay for a service, and 9 months later, they come back and say, "Oh, I didn't realize mom had this pre-arrangement. You know, can I get my $7,000 back?" Doesn't happen that way.
Gotcha. So on the flip side of that, a personal story with me is my father was in a nursing home for several years with dementia, and when he died, we found out he had his gravesite and a lot of his funeral paid for in Pennsylvania. They let us know it was going to be 17 grand to move that casket to Pennsylvania. Would this cover that instance, even though he died obviously close to home here?
So we will not ship in a personal casket. We ship in basically an air freight container. We do not ship with anything that's personalized that can be damaged. That we're responsible for it if something happens. But that's a tough one that you're in with that situation. One, it's after the fact, and two, you're shipping in a personal casket. That's 17,000 sounds excessive.
It was. Us hillbillies put him in the back of a pickup, and he arrived safely. There
are pickup and removal companies that could have done it. That's what I say. But unfortunately, our plan would not have covered that. If your father would have passed, I'm going to just say if Jerry would have passed away 75 miles from home and Jerry wanted to go back to Pennsylvania without that casket, or I'll give you an example. Say, Jerry, where do you live right now? I'm sorry, what town? Where are you at?
I'm in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Okay, know it well. Okay, so let's just say you had a loved one from Fort Wayne die 75 miles from home. You wanted to have, so we did the pickup and removal, brought the body back to Fort Wayne, but you still want to ship back to Pennsylvania. We'll do that. So what we'll do is if you just do a rental casket at the funeral home, so we'll do the pickup and removal, bring to the funeral home, embalm the body. You're going to be responsible for the dressing and casketing fee. Then once we're done with that service, we will then pay for, bring the body to the airport, prep it for shipping, ship it out, do the pickup and return on the other end. We'll do everything. So we'll help with family in that sense if they want to do it, where there's some loved ones in Fort Wayne and then another service and where the final disposition or final resting place will be in Pennsylvania. We'll handle that as well.
Awesome. Okay.
We just did that outside of Cancun. Family we did the pickup and removal. Lady was back here from the States, Southern California. So we did the pickup and removal service back at the funeral home in Mexico. They used a rental casket. And then, so they didn't have to buy a casket. We shipped the body back and brought it back to the funeral home in San Clemente, California.
Andrew?
Yes.
My neighbors, they cruise pretty often, just got back from one. Will you kind of go through the
horrors of a cruise ship?
When people, if people would die on it while cruising? Yeah,
so I can tell you it's unfortunate. Depending on where the cruise is and the part of their journey. So they're just shoved in the freezer on the cruise ship. There's not a morgue on a cruise ship. So they're put in there, hopefully not cross-contaminating. We don't know but that's where they are. And they're usually, if there's an issue with the death, then they're usually brought and left at the first stop or whatever stop is next. And basically at that point, the family, loved one, they're left to handle that full return. There's no dignity in that. For us, it would be.
What country it may be that you'd be dealing with that you'd be left to deal with that on your own.
Yeah, it's again, depending on the cruise ship, you've got translation services to deal with, and for those, it's not easy. We hear horror stories for cruises.
Are there travel expenses for next of kin that are part of the plan, or does it just cover?
So what we will cover is the assistance, but we don't pay for. So if it's a husband and wife traveling, the husband dies in somewhere overseas, we'll handle the coordination and help that wife or loved one get back around the exact same time to deal with, moving their flight schedule, dealing with the services, but we're not going to pay for all of that. Again, so for 525, we do our best, but it's not like we're making the 525. We have our net, and then pretty much the selling agent and the agency gets their portion.
On that note, I want to pass along to the agents, the commission on this is $175. So we're passing along a good amount of this to you. So the $175 is your commission. It's a one-time payment, I believe, unless you do the payment option. But generally, this will be a very quick turnaround. So we think there's a lot of people back cruising again. So this is a great option to share with people that are moving around a lot.
So our average agent sells 8.5 a month. All you gotta do is take 8.5 a month times 175. But we have agents that sell in the 20s, 20s, and 30s. But we have one person that sits in Toronto. He sells about 42 to 43 a month every month, and he's only on $100 commission. Well, 100 whatever Canadian is compared to our dollar. So 175 is a respectable amount if you take that by 8.5, if you could get there. And remember, everyone is your candidate, not just the person sitting in front of you to do any pre-planning. But I want to go back to the family portion of that, what I stated I would. Everybody is a candidate. So if you're doing a pre-arrangement, if you're selling a life insurance plan or a final expense payment to a husband or husband wife, please find out if they have children. Because the children are, they don't have to do a pre-arrangement for them. But 300 miles in the majority are car accidents. It's not just the member that usually passes away in car accidents. So think about it that way. It increases your sales. The other thing I'm going to tell you this, how we have people that have gone from, 15 to 20, 20 to 30, in their 30s, 30s, and their 40s. Every time you collect an emergency contact, that emergency contact is now a warm lead for you because you do not have to be in front of somebody to sell this plan. I would recommend you reach out to every single emergency contact within 3 to 5 business days and just ask them, just talk to them, have a brief conversation and potentially sell them. And if they're within your market, maybe you could sell them something, another plan that you work on.
Is there any social media or ad recommendations you have to market this product?
We have people that have their own Facebook pages that, have away from home protection plans. On our website, on our agent portal, there is a direct link where an agent can then, they create their social media page, put up a PDF, whether it be in English or Spanish, talks about our plan. And if someone wants to buy it, they could just click the link and make the sale themselves. They don't even have to talk to the agent. So every agent that signs up with us has their own dedicated portal, and inside the dedicated portal is their dedicated direct sales link. So yeah, they can do it any way they want. What we recommend, and you might appreciate this, is every agent go back and formulate an email, put in our PDF in the body of the email. That's a great visual, talks about the plan. Put the sales link in and listen, I've serviced you in the past. I wasn't offering this in the past. So, I was thinking about you. This is a great way to, protect you and your loved ones while you're away from home. And just blast it out as much as you can. This is also a great way to get back in front of all the people within the funeral home that have unfunded pre-arrangements.
A question?
Yes, please.
Do you need a pre-need license for this or just the regular life and health works?
I'm going to answer that real clear. You need no license.
Okay.
And is there any state restrictions then for the?
Yes, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
New York. Now, that's not to say someone in New York cannot offer or cannot have our membership. We have thousands of people. They just cannot buy it while in New York. So they could go to Jersey for the day, they could be away, but they cannot purchase the plan while in the state of New York. New York is New York. I'm just going to leave it like that.
Yeah, New York is a beast. Yeah, we know that. Yes.
So our agents with a resident license can sell in any state, is what you're saying, other than New York?
Yes. So here's the nice thing. We have a lot of people that are pre-need people, but their spouse sits at home and does something else, or, they can sell it without any type of a license.
That's awesome.
You will fall if you literally talk about our plan. just talk about it. You will find basically 2 out of every 10 people you talk to will have a need for the plan. And then from those 2 people, you will find there are, children or mom and dad that travel with them. We had a lady sitting in Los Angeles just 3 months ago, and I'll just say it, at Green Hill Cemetery Mortuary, sold 12 at one time. Filipino family came in to buy, do their pre-arrangements and buy 2 plots. Found out that mom, grandma, and grandpa, and all the kids go back to the Philippines with them every year. So not only did she sell 2 plots and 2 pre-arrangements, she sold 12 of our memberships at one time.
That's cool.
Yeah, and you have a lot of agents as well that really aren't in the pre-need world, correct?
Yeah, we do.
And outside of SCI, would you generally say that people that are in the pre-need business are effective? And talk about this plan? Or
I would say, yeah, the challenges for us are funeral directors. They are just purely order takers. And unfortunately, we have just a lot of funeral directors signed up. So we're trying to retrain them and rewire them. In the last 2 years, we have seen more and more truck insurance people sign up with us to offer it to all the truckers that they offer. Motorcycle insurance people as well. Truckers and motorcycle people, there's accidents all the time on the road. You think about what truck insurance costs, $8,000, $9,000 a year. What's another $525? And for them, maybe you get them on a 12-month plan, because right now with fuel being so high and I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but they're covered. Because guys, my background prior to ever getting into pre-need world, I was a regional and then a national and then a trainer for GE Capital and then Warner Enterprises. Trucking was my background. And I can tell you this, when you take an independent owner operator, if you know them and they die on the road, Warner is not responsible for getting that loved one home or their tractor home. All Warner cares about is the trailer that guy was hauling and what's on that trailer. So there's a great expense for the wife to get home her husband's tractor, and that's what she'll use the insurance money for. But the cost to get her husband home is going to fall on her right away. Every independent trucker should have this, and every small trucking company that cares about their drivers, looking for additional benefits for their drivers, they should be offering our membership.
So opportunity for group sales.
Enormous opportunity for group sales. And I'm going to throw this out at you, Tom. If you have people that talk to you or anyone on this call, you sit there with a company and they have 100 agents, but there's no way they could afford $525 for all of their agents. Talk to us. We could come up potentially with a different payment option if the opportunity is right. So every single person's a candidate. I don't care if it's you want to give a plan to, your children that are getting married and going off on a honeymoon, children that are on traveling. I was a traveling athlete all through high school and college. I competed all over the United States. And I've seen accidents. I mean, everyone knows about the hockey team from Toronto 6 years ago. The whole team, other than one player and one coach, died. Everybody's a candidate. And I hate to say it that way. We get the calls. I know the age of deaths. Death doesn't choose an age, and we don't know when it's going to happen. It just happens.
Is there any other questions from agents that we can answer before we wrap up here? I want to thank everybody for making the time today. It's a really unique product. It's a great, talking point for people that are doing a lot of traveling. Should be a no-brainer.
Visiting, vacation, and going, not traveling.
Yes.
It does make a difference because, again, people do relate travel to passports, and it's a shame. That was one of the things we learned, and it hurt us for a lot of years because we called this a travel protection plan. And so you'll see in all of our everything, visit, vacation, and go now, and sales have gone up tremendously. But guys, I can just tell you this: think about yourself, where you go, and also don't try to sell this with your own checkbook. Offer it and let them decide. It makes a difference when the average repatriation for us is $4,750. The average family over $6,000, and those are domestic. You're talking international, you're talking $12,000 to $17,000.
And Andrew, is the application on the website an e-app? Is that a version that the agents can fill out?
It is so easy. So there's a paper application and there is an e-app application right in our portal. It takes, unless you're a hunter and a pecker, it'll take you about 6 minutes. If you can type, it takes about 4.
Awesome. And if anybody would like to get contracting, please send me or David Reif an email. We will get that out to you right away. We want you to get contracted and have this as part of your tool belt for AEP this year. We think you'll talk to a lot of people that are out and about. As we say, travel is definitely back up, and vacations are the new norm. Everybody wants to get away because we're working too
Our
hard.
sales have doubled this year to date from last year. It's happening all over, and people are feeling confident about going places. And I'm going to offer this to you as well, Tom. You know this. If you guys sign up agents, we will get you trained. Training will go through the benefits one more time. We'll take care of the portal training. We'll go through it all. It's usually about an hour plus training, but we want to make sure you're trained properly in how to use the portal the right way and effectively. So we'll schedule that. We try to make sure you guys have all the tools you need to be successful.
Yeah, if we could schedule a day later in the month, that'd be fantastic. We'll bring anybody that wants to get contracting. I did my contracting a couple weeks ago. It took all about 3 months. And so if anybody wants to do this, I strongly recommend you do it. We'll do it. We'll schedule another meeting where we can go through the website and the details to help you make sales.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so thanks everybody.
Can I add a link onto my personal website that will, I have my drop down for insurance, have the ASI, click on it, and then it takes you to the link and they can just fill out right from there.
Yeah, so once you're signed up, once you're signed up, you will have a portal access, and within your portal is your dedicated sales link.
And then I can attach that to my website. Cool. Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome. You could also even create QR codes for these things. If you do seminars, whatever, just have them scan it and make a purchase right there.
Perfect.
Thanks for the question, David. That is correct. $525 per year. And covered for, it's $525 one time, covered for life, not per year.
Awesome.
Well, Tom, thank you very much for asking me to be a part of this. I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. And then for the next one in a month or so, when we said we'll have some fun and go through the portal.
Thanks you guys so much for your training aspects. This is really great. And for all the agents that made the time today, Advocate definitely wants to help you grow your business in every way we can. So it's a little unique, and we think it has a lot of value. So please feel free to hit me up with contracting. David Reif obviously is the main contracting portal for our office, and we will get that to you right away. So with that, everybody have a great afternoon or lunch if you're headed out from the west, and enjoy your week. Thanks
Take care, everybody, and thank you.